The parking lot outside Amy Mihaljevic's school buzzed with the usual afternoon noise as kids spilled toward the sidewalks, clutching backpacks and laughing over inside jokes. In the middle of that everyday rush, the 10-year-old walked with purpose, scanning the line of cars as if searching for someone she expected to see. She had told friends she needed to meet a man about a surprise gift for her mother, something she sounded proud of, something she believed she had earned by doing well in school. No one realized she had stepped straight into a trap until she drifted toward the edge of the lot and vanished into the world outside Bay Village Middle School without leaving a single moment of struggle behind. Amy had grown up in a safe, quiet suburb where kids rode bikes to each other's houses and parents rarely feared for their children's safety. She was bright, organized, and calm for her age, the kind of student who corrected mistakes neatly and greeted teachers with a steady voice. Her family lived an ordinary routine built on homework, television evenings, and weekend outings. Nothing about her life hinted that someone had singled her out. But weeks before she disappeared, a man had called her at home while she was alone, telling her he worked with her mother and wanted her help planning a surprise celebration. He made the story sound harmless, even thoughtful. He had used her mother's name. He had sounded friendly, and he had promised a small gift to thank her for helping. That detail hooked her. She loved doing things that made adults proud. So when he told her they should meet after school to pick up the gift, she believed him. Her mother didn't know about the call. Her father didn't either. Amy carried it quietly. She told a few friends only the part about the gift. To them, it sounded like a secret mission. To her, it sounded like something special she had been trusted with. But the call had been the first step in a planned approach, and the stranger had waited until the exact moment she would be walking alone. When Amy didn't come home that evening, her mother panicked immediately. She called neighbors, then the school, then the police, refusing to believe her daughter might have wandered off. Officers swarmed the area within hours, checking the school grounds, parking lot, and nearby shops. None of her classmates had seen anything alarming. Some remembered her talking about a meeting. One boy recalled seeing her walk toward the edge of the lot with someone slightly older, maybe a teenager or young man, but he could not describe the face clearly. Police realized within the first night that this wasn't a misunderstanding. Amy had been lured. Bay Village police teamed up with surrounding departments and the FBI. Phone logs were pulled. Officers worked through every tip. Reporters filled the streets, and the Mihaljevic family watched the search grow until it felt like their quiet suburb had transformed into a command center. Volunteers combed fields and wooded areas. Officers knocked on doors through the night. The story spread across Ohio by the next morning. Investigators traced similar calls made to other young girls in the region. In each case, a man had claimed he worked with the girl's mother. He named the mother correctly. He added believable details about promotions or congratulations. But none of the other girls had agreed to meet him. Amy had been the youngest and the most trusting. Detectives knew the caller had researched families, workplaces, and school schedules. He knew enough to make each call sound legitimate. That level of preparation suggested a stalker who had rehearsed his method long before choosing her. For months, flyers with Amy's picture hung in stores and libraries. Police set up checkpoints. Family members begged for information on television. More than 15,000 tips poured in. Yet nothing solid emerged. The case stretched past the holidays and into the new year. Investigators refused to scale back, but leads slowed until they seemed to dissolve. Officers still believed she was alive somewhere. Her family held on to that belief too, imagining scenarios where she might be trapped but reachable, hidden but waiting. But the silence deepened as winter passed. On February 8th of the following year, a jogger running through a rural area in Ashland County noticed something unusual near a field off County Road 181. Deputies arrived and discovered the remains of a child lying just beyond the tall grass. The clothing matched what Amy had worn the day she disappeared. Dental records confirmed it was her. The location sat more than an hour from Bay Village, far from any route she would have traveled on her own. Investigators realized she had been moved deliberately, her body placed in a location meant to hide her long enough to erase the trail behind her. Evidence suggested she had been killed soon after her abduction. Items she had been carrying, including her favorite horse-themed earrings, were missing. Officers believed her killer kept them as trophies. The discovery narrowed the timeline, but widened the search for suspects, now focusing on anyone with ties to the region, access to Bay Village, and enough knowledge to manipulate children by researching their parents. Detectives followed hundreds of leads. They built profiles, examined past offenders, and interviewed anyone whose employment connected them to Amy's mother. They researched workers at local shopping centers and stables she visited. They looked into men who lived near the abduction site. They considered the possibility of someone who traveled frequently for work. The method of approaching young girls by telephone remained one of the most distinctive clues, yet the man's identity stayed out of reach. The years that followed did not weaken the investigation. New detectives inherited the files and worked them with the same intensity. The FBI reanalyzed evidence using improved methods. Age-progressed sketches of potential suspects were released. Witnesses who had been children at the time were re-interviewed as adults. Every attempt to revive the case returned to the same elements: the phone call, the promise of a gift, the meeting arranged in broad daylight, and the careful way the abductor mixed just enough truth into his lie to convince a trusting girl he was safe. The case continued to haunt Bay Village long after the initial search ended. Parents who had once felt comfortable letting their kids walk home alone changed their routines completely. Schools implemented stricter dismissal rules. Teachers reminded students never to trust anyone who approached with personal details. Amy's classmates grew older, carrying the memory of the day she walked out of the parking lot and never returned. Investigators still believe someone out there knows the truth. A co-worker who heard a suspicious remark. A family member who noticed a change in behavior. A person who saw a man watching the school in the days before the abduction. The case has never been closed, and detectives still ask the public for new information. The method the killer used required planning and research. Someone in his life would have seen signs of that preparation, even if they didn't understand what it meant at the time. For Amy's family, the years reshaped, but never softened the loss. They built foundations, spoke at safety events, and turned their grief into efforts to protect other children. Her case influenced training programs and investigation strategies across the country, teaching officers how to recognize the early warning signs of targeted child luring and how to respond quickly when a child goes missing without explanation. The truth behind her disappearance remains just out of reach, suspended between the evidence investigators have already uncovered and the missing link they continue to search for. Someone planned it. Someone rehearsed it. Someone carried out every step with confidence that he would not be caught. But the case still lives in active files, waiting for the moment the final detail breaks loose. Thank you for listening to The Lantern's Tale. Subscribe for more true stories, if you dare.